Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, today we are joined by a very special guest indeed. You may be familiar with his work in acting and stuntman for shows and movies such as One Tree Hill, Vampire Diaries, Cabin Fever, and Eastbound and Down. Today we are joined by Preston Corbell. Preston, how are you today?
What's up? I'm so excited to be here. I mean, I've watched many episodes and I'm thrilled to be here, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it is such a privilege to get to speak with you. Um, one of the things that we get to speak to a lot of actors and so been interviewing some musicians as well. But I think an art form that to this day still isn't spoke enough about is stunt work. Because I
True.
think the work that you guys do and for me, the lack of exposure that you get is insane. So I can't wait to get to talk to you about kind of your work.
Yeah. It's kind of the nature of the beast, man. We make the actors look good, but we're also really a huge part of the production. So
Well, exactly. I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, the movies just don't hit the same
right.
at all. So just before we get into kind of some of your work, I'd really get interested for the viewers to get to know about you. So, how did you first kind of get involved in the industry?
So I grew up in California, a place called Newport Beach, Orange County, and I did some print work, I did some modeling work, just kind of bit work, just commercials and stuff. And then I was really big into basketball. So since I was 3, I always had a basketball in my hand, which later helped me on One Tree Hill because that's a basketball show. But I got recruited by a D1 school in the summer. I ruptured my Achilles, which is like the worst injury you can have as an athlete, and that kind of just redirected me. And I got invited to a fantastic film called Cabin Fever in North Carolina. Eli Roth's first movie, who is now a horror icon, obviously. So fantastic to work on that. And this guy behind me is the Bunny Man, which is the very first thing that I got to work on. And that, while it was a little part in that movie, it really jump started everything that I have for 20 years. So that's really where it started, and I was able to get in stunts doing that. And when I went to North Carolina to work on Cabin Fever, I got to know a lot of people, and then I spent Wilmington, North Carolina. I spent 10 years there, just doing tons of stuff. So it was definitely a blessing to get into the industry.
Yeah, and it's crazy that it all kind of started with Cabin Fever because if you go onto your IMDb page, especially, I mean, your list of credits are incredibly impressive. I think like over 100 credits or something crazy. So that's seriously impressive. So when you were broken into the industry, was it when you first started, was it very much focused on acting in particular, or was there always that little bit of interest to do other work as well?
It was stunts. I mean, it was stunts from go. And I mean, acting's cool, being in front of the camera, but I like being the blue collar behind the camera, just doing the dirty work and doing everything that needs to be done. And that's kind of how I built my stunt career, as being a utility stuntman. So I can do driving scenes, I can get hit by a car, jump off a building, just get set on fire, anything that's called upon me. So I'm kind of the Army Swiss knife of stuntmen. So
Just some of those things you listed there, I just can't comprehend them. So,
right.
um, so was there ever any particular movie or any actor, or was there anything in particular that kind of really piqued your interest sort of early on?
Obviously, being a part of the horror community, which is just those fans are so loyal. And it's something where you could do 20 years ago, and I can still go to a convention. I did one yesterday, and I can represent Cabin Fever. And I did that movie 22 years ago, and people are still so excited about the Bunny Man or Cabin Fever. And you don't get that with rom-coms and comedies. And so stuff really lasts in people's brains and hearts, and that's something amazing. But I think One Tree Hill was really my stomping ground. It was something I was there for multiple seasons, and it's where I learned a lot of my stunts. It's where I built my contacts. And without One Tree Hill, as goofy as a teen drama sounds from a stuntman, people are like, they even have stunts in that show. They do. People get hit by cars, but that's really where everything started. So I would say One Tree Hill was the pinnacle or the key part of my career.
Yeah, awesome. Obviously, so we'll start. I feel like it's right to start with Cabin Fever, seeing as that was kind of the beginning. Um, so how was the role of the Bunny Man kind of pitched to you? Because to us and the fans, obviously the screen time wasn't a lot, but I know that if you kind of do any research about the movie, there's always still talk about the Bunny Man to this day because it's such a creepy mystery kind of character that just kind of appears in the movie for no reason. So how was it pitched to you?
So there's such an interesting story behind the Bunny Man, and you're right. It was just a little piece of the movie that was a few seconds, and fans 20 years later still get excited about it. And I worked on the first three films, so I did the second one, the third one, and Bunny Man progressively got a little bigger in each movie. But I was doing utility stunts, so I was like, "Hey, you need to do this, you need to do that," and I was always like gung ho and ready to do everything. And they needed someone to dress up in a bunny suit, which sounded weird, but I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm down." And we did that, and at the end product, I think it's about 4 seconds. But the funny thing about the Bunny Man is, well, there's a lot of creepy bunnies, obviously, in horror history, but that one, it's in the hospital, and it's kind of a crucial scene in the movie. But Eli Roth had a direct connection to the Bunny Man, and his favorite film is The Shining. And in The Shining, they have a character that's a bear. And it's briefly in the movie, and it's kind of like where he's hallucinating, but it's just this creepy, mysterious creature. So he wanted to integrate that into Cabin Fever, and he said in an interview, it's just represents something evil, something mysterious. And in the end credits, it's credited as we'll never tell, because that kind of adds to the mystery and everything involved. And obviously, stuntmen are famous for doing characters like Jason and Michael Myers, and you never see their faces, and they're always in masks and stuff. But yeah, so I was able to do that as a stuntman and credited as stunt double for Bunny Man in the first three films. So Cabin Fever is it's awesome. I mean, Eli Roth obviously is a freaking icon right now, and that's where he started. So a character that jump started everything for me, and something that I'm most proud of 22 years later.
Yeah, that's so cool. You know, I love those little kind of Easter eggs that they leave. Like, there's obviously a representation as to why the Bunny Man's there. I kind of
Yeah.
love those stories, and I think there's a lot. I know obviously a lot of movies around that time period as well kind of drop those Easter eggs, but that's a really cool one. Um, so what was it like, kind of while you were on set?
Of Cabin Fever. So we were up in the obviously in the woods, right? Because it's cabin. We were up in the woods in North Carolina, and it's Eli Roth's first film. It's if you watch the film, it's kind of campy. It's just a group of teenagers going to a cabin, which have been done a bazillion times, and it's gory. And but at the time, that was really those movies weren't around. So those we didn't have all the slashers of the wrong turns and all that kind of stuff. So if that was made, now it would kind of probably just get tossed to the wayside. But in the process of filming, there was a lot of his friends, or his siblings were there, and but it was a very close knit group, and we were kind of secluded out there, and we kind of all leaned on each other, and we knew something was special. And so, some fun fact about Cabin Fever is Peter Jackson was a huge fan of Cabin Fever. And when he was shooting The Lord of the Rings, he brought the whole cast to sit down and watch Cabin Fever. So he was that big of a fan of the movies. So that's a cool piece of history for sure.
It's insane. I never knew that. That's kind of
Yeah.
crazy, really. Yeah, and I think you're right. It's the timing of the movie, because you missed the kind of a lot of the camp slashers were heavily in the 80s, and then you had a lot subsequent after. But I think in those early 2000s, it just hit that right mark, and I think that's why it kind of blew up as early as it did, which is awesome. Um, do you have any particular fond memories while being on set or around the movie?
I think it was just it was almost like it was a little silly, and we knew that it was low budget, but we knew there was just that aura about it, that we knew we had something here. We knew something was special, and it's going to connect. And it was quirky in the right way, and scary in another way, and had the perfect amount of gore. And it, but I think just the special thing is we knew it was kind of quirky and weird, but we knew it was special. We knew it was going to go somewhere, and We knew, a famous director was going to make a name for himself. So we all just kind of had that aura about it of this is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah. And you have the famous bunny head there right behind you, which is
Yeah.
so cool to see. So were you kind of a fan, maybe obviously earlier on, were you a fan of horror movies, or did you ever kind of aspire to ever work in kind of a horror movie?
I think obviously we had Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers growing up in the 80s and stuff, which are still like the number one thing for Halloween, and everyone knows all of them. I really tried to base my career around a stuntman called Kane Hodder, who did most of the Jason films. He's one of the better known horror stuntmen. And I think that was cool about Bunny Man. That was kind of my ode to him, because he was Jason for so long, and then he went out to acting and doing fantastic things later in his career. But that's really what I wanted to model my my career after, was him. And he's just a really good man. Really takes care of his fans, and just really hardworking. I mean, he's got a ton of credits to his name. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic like kind of person to role model after, because he's somebody that's, I mean, he is very much, as you said, very well known for the Friday the 13th franchise, but he has just been around and he's been involved in so many different iconic moments in horror movies as well. I bet he must have some of the most craziest stories as well. So
Oh,
that'd be awesome to chat to
I
us.
think I suggest watching his documentary. It's about his life. It
Yeah,
was out about 2 years ago. I can't remember the name of it, but it's just fascinating.
yeah, for sure. No, I definitely will have to give that a watch, 100%. So I guess we'll kind of move on a little bit into, as you said, kind of the where you very much built this station of your career at One Tree Hill, which, as you said, it's kind of a movie that if you were to, or show, sorry, that if you were first kind of watching it, you wouldn't suspect there would be that many crazy stunts. But I know I've seen, I think it might have been maybe in an interview you've done previously, or I saw a clip of a scene where you had to do a stunt where you were hit by a car,
Yeah.
and I saw
So
that
yeah,
it.
there was actually a decent amount of stunts on the show, and there was only 2 or 3 stuntmen that really worked full time there and did most of the stuff in the studio in Wilmington. But there was a cool bridge scene where a limousine's flying through a bridge, and there's literally like 8 to 10 cameras set up, and you only have one bridge and you only have one limousine, so you're only crashing at once. And there's this huge production, and we spent 2 days setting up and everything, and one time you get, so you don't want to be that stuntman that messes that up. But there's cool stuff like that. But getting hit by cars, I got hit by so many cars. And the cool thing about stunts is if you mess up, you're gonna remember not to do that again. So you're gonna learn very quickly, because you're not gonna want to go through the pain of
Yeah,
that process. And we make money by taking a lot of hits and not getting injured. And if we get injured, we don't have a paycheck. So we're not salary. We're we get paid per job, and if we're walking around with a broken leg, we're not getting any money. So we're trying to do everything as possibly safe as we can. But the fun thing about big budget stuff is you have the best people around you. You have the best support system. So as a stuntman, I just knew I was all in. So I knew I had to be just let everything go. I'm all in. If something happens, the best people are around me, and that's how you have to be with stuntman. You can't be hesitant about anything.
right. Well, that's an amazing way to put it. But I suppose with a long running show like One Tree Hill, I kind of suspect for, as you said, somebody a stuntman that's kind of, you're kind of waiting to be told sort of what's happening next. I can't imagine you're told heavily in advance all the list of stunts you're doing. How do you physically and mentally kind of prepare for that kind of undertaking?
So the fun thing about well, just to touch on long running shows, you always stick with the series that's going places, going each season, because that's steady work. You're getting
Yeah.
20 episodes a year instead of one movie, so that's fantastic work as a stuntman. But there's not stunts every day. There's you might have one stunt every 2 weeks. So I was fortunate enough to be Chad Michael Murray, Lucas's Scott Double. So I could do photo work, I could do stand-in work, just to get a paycheck, get a steady paycheck in between stunts. But a lot of stuff's not written until an episode before. Sometimes you don't know you're getting hit by a car until the next day. So that's the fun thing about being ready to do stuff. So when you go to a movie set and something's called upon, you're like, hell yeah, I'm ready. Whether you know it or not, you're gonna learn quick. And the more you do stunts, the easier it gets. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times you don't know until the day of. And you can't be hesitant, because if you do, they're gonna find someone else. You're not the actor, you're not the face of the show. So if you can't do it, they'll get another stuntman to do it. So you have to be eager to do it, and don't lie about your resume. Don't say, hey, I know how to do this, and then you go to do it and you won't work again if you don't know how to do it. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is there any particular stunt? It doesn't have to be on One Tree Hill. I suppose it could be kind of across your whole career. Is there any one particular stunt that it just really sticks in your brain the most, that you just think that was either insane or it went better than you thought? Or is there anything that sticks out?
I think a cool thing about getting set on fire, which everyone's like, I can't even imagine that, is the process of getting, before you get set on fire. You're getting suited up for about an hour, and the process of getting your layers of gel, obviously fire protectant gel, and you start to get really cold, and you're doing that for an hour, and you're like freezing by the end, and you're ready to get set on fire because you're so damn cold. So, but the process of getting set on fire, I really don't. I've never had. Obviously, if it goes wrong, you're gonna have a negative experience. I have positive experiences because I've never had anything go wrong. Doing firework, but that's always so cool. I mean, no one gets to do that, so that's something you don't take for granted. I mean, that's pretty badass thing to do. So that's my favorite.
You know, for me, I mean, I know there's a lot of stunts that I could never, but just the concept of dealing with fire and animals are the two things that I could be like, no.
Well, everyone knows how dangerous fire is, so you have people on you when you do it. So everyone's there. So I mean, stuff can go wrong for sure, but you have the best help around you.
Yeah.
And animals, what kind of animals do you not like?
Anything that's bigger than me that I don't feel like I could hold myself against.
I think snakes. Snakes are about the only thing off limits for me. I can't do a snake.
Have you ever worked with animals?
Yeah. I mean, you can work with animals a lot. As far as exotic animals, I haven't got to do it. I would love to do a tiger, or like, a lion or
No.
something, or an elephant. But obviously
Yeah.
that's scary. And not elephants, but tigers can be aggressive. But
Yeah.
I would do anything other than snakes. I am terrified of snakes.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you on that at all. Other than snakes, has there ever been a stunt where you've had to turn down just because you either, whether it was because you had an injury or you weren't prepared, or it was just like a no-go for you?
Specialty stuff. So, as far as like driving, I'm very comfortable. I've been doing it since I was an early teenager, so I'm solid there. But specialty stuff, archery, horseback riding, stuff like that. Or if you're really good at martial arts, I know some kickboxing. But if I go to a movie that has this huge martial arts scene and I say, yeah, I know how to do that, and you get in there and you obviously don't know how to do that. So
Yeah.
you definitely turn down stuff if it's specialty or really niche. You don't want to lie about that. So you turn that stuff down and let the experts do it. But pretty much anything in general, I'm able to do.
No, it's like that. That's a good. I can imagine though within the industry, because again, because of the if you don't work, you don't get paid kind of mentality. I can imagine there must be a lot of people that say they're kind of an expert in something that maybe find out very quickly that they're not.
But then
Have
you
you
have
ever
a
kind
whole
of seen that?
production. You have a whole production waiting for you. So there's literally one stuntman that has to do something, and everyone's surrounding you and ready to go. And if you don't know how to do it, you're really going to piss off a lot of people, and you won't work again. So if
Yeah,
you're not confident in doing something, just don't do it.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
On One Tree Hill, is there? It doesn't have to be like a stunt. It could have been maybe an experience you had kind of off behind the scenes. Is there any favorite moment or fond moment you kind of have in your head about working on the show?
I think a funny moment was there was a scene. It was like a house party, and I had to get on a table, so like in front of probably 50 extras, and then we have 100 crew members, and you have to do like this dance scene that they're doing. I'm doing double work, and I do a dance scene, and my pants split. So, and I wasn't wearing underwear that day, so that was in front of 150 people. So embarrassing, but also I just found it hilarious. So it was really funny, and it made everyone laugh, and it's definitely a memorable thing and a fun story to tell. So
That's the way you got to look at it now. Like, that's just a great story to tell afterwards.
I will say,
So
just to touch on later in my career, I was able to do some Marvel and DC stuff.
yeah,
And that's something I never really ventured into with green screen and a lot of wire work. And so that's something I wanted to end my career on because I wanted to experience what that was about. It's
yeah,
not necessarily for me. I'm what you would call a practical stunt guy. So if you get hit by a car, you're getting hit by a damn car. You're not doing green screen work or wire work. I really messed up my back doing wire work. A wire retracted in between scenes, and I slammed on the floor about 12 feet away, and really just jacked up my back, which lovely get to deal with every day. But that was kind of the roundabout of, hey, I did everything. I got to work on Marvel and DC, so
yeah.
I had a well-rounded career for sure.
Yeah, no, that funny enough, that was something I wanted to ask very briefly because again, I've seen you've worked on some Marvel and DC shows. So with kind of the green screen and a lot of the wire work that you mentioned, is that kind of stuff that if you were to break into the industry, you could kind of learn, or is that something you kind of have to learn whilst you're on set actually doing it?
So there usually those groups of people are very close knit. So there's usually a set group that works on most of those things. And they are very much experts at what they do. But you can kind of wiggle in and do some utility work. They get like if you're doing Walking Dead, they can have a whole bunch of stuntmen on there on set
Hmm.
on one day that don't work there all the time. But as far as wire work, you can learn on. You can do the basic stuff on the fly, and get a quick tutorial. But I mean, to do stuff, it's very difficult, for sure. And there's a huge art behind that. Something that's kind of out of my element was motion capture. I got to do stuff for Grand Theft Auto. So
Oh,
doing that and kind of getting in the whole suit, and you got like green screen things and cameras, and that's really that's an art. It's like that's a whole performing art. That's something that's completely different than normal stunts or anything like that. So people that are really good at stuff, you let them do it, and if you get to be a part of a little piece of it, that's awesome. So
yeah. Were you ever a fan of Marvel and DC prior? And was it something that you kind of really wanted to try and get on one of the shows or movies?
um unpopular opinion, no. I don't
Fair.
watch Marvel and DC. I know everyone does, but no, I don't. I just wanted to accomplish that off my bucket list to
Yeah.
work on it.
No, do you know what? I really appreciate the honesty, right? Because the amount of people that say, "Oh yeah, they love it," and then you're like, "What's your favorite one?" And then they're like, "So," so I appreciate that. But no, that's cool. Like you said, for somebody that cares so much about the stunt art, I think for you it was just very important for you to get
Right,
that full kind of experience. So I
right.
appreciate that. Um, so for when you first started working in stunts, right up until I suppose even now, like, do you see a massive change in the kind of industry? And if so, what do you see?
Definitely. I think we're all seeing kind of everyone's talking about AI, and everyone's talking about you can get they may not need writers because you can get stuff made up. You might not need actors because you can just get AI to do it. And we haven't seen that yet. There's just a lot of talk about it. But the more we see green screen work, obviously stuntmen are getting less and less in demand. A lot of CGI and all that stuff's taking over. I was luckily able to work early 2000s, some 2010s, and practical stunts were huge, obviously in the 80s and 90s as well.
Yeah,
So that's really where you need stuntmen to get beat up and take the hits and stuff. But there's less work for stuntmen, even though, and it's weird because with streaming services and everything, there's so much more movie work. Like there's so many more projects. Like we get on Netflix and we spend 10, 30 minutes looking for something to watch. There's like an endless amount of stuff to watch, but we don't find anything we want to watch. So there's so much work out there than there wasn't 20 years ago, but it's a lot of it is green screen and CGI. So stuntmen aren't as in demand, and I think a lot of the industry is changing. So that kind of grows with a lot of positions in the industry is kind of dwindling down.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of naturally. I think in general that I mean, I think you could kind of put that as well to a lot of industries. Like, I mean, my outside of this kind of my industry, I work in the IT industry. So like, and again, we're seeing a lot of that the stuff's kind of being done on its own. So you kind of feel like, is the demand going to be there for like an
Right.
engineer or a software developer or something like that? Because they're kind of doing it themselves now. So I think that worry is always going to be there for the future, but there'll always be things that are kind of reinvented and roles that are remade for people to kind of
Right.
still have work, right?
Well, eventually you have to have a human touch. So I think people connect with with humans. So
Yeah.
I don't know if AI will take off as much as they think. But you never know. I mean, like movies like Avatar are so darn popular. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So what would you say has been your absolute most favorite part about the entire industry?
Community. You get to know people, but I think the cool thing about it is you can trust people with your life. If something's gonna go down, they will do everything in their power to help you. Community, camaraderie, and just something really cool. There's something special about working on a film. There's something special, especially as a stuntman. There's something where you kind of leave your heart on the project that you do. You're not going to get the recognition. A lot of stuntmen don't get to be in the credits. You don't always get. No one knows your face. No one knows you're famous. So I think just kind of leaving your heart on that film, going, hey, that person you can't see that just got blown up, that was me. And you can be proud of that. And I think that's something you can carry on for generations and tell people fun stories. So
Yeah, and that's the thing for me getting to do these kind of interviews, because I think the third stuntman that I've interviewed now, and it all kind of tell the same story, right? That you don't really get the recognition, but you don't do it for the recognition. But one of the
yeah.
cool things about doing these interviews, I feel, is like I feel like you guys kind of deserve more than what you get. I feel like you deserve the credits, you deserve the plaudits because I mean, it's your bodies that are at risk, right? And it's your bodies that, as you kind of go down the years, you still carry these wounds and carry these injuries with you. So I definitely feel like stuntmen, although they don't do it for that reason, I feel like they deserve and they need that credit more.
Correct. I totally agree.
Yeah. So you've said that you're retired now from, is it just stunt work or acting?
I'm retired from everything. I never really got into acting too much. I've done some cool acting roles, but
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in being in front of the camera. And I was kind of forced into retirement because my body said no. The last 2 years, I'm just like hobbling around. I can't stay healthy. Yeah, pretty much done with that. Moved on to working in mental health, and which is great. I get to work with athletes and kind of carry on my love for sports, love for stunt work, and help people, health athletes grow and be healthier. So it all kind of transitions together. But as far as stunts, no, I'm an old man and walking with gimps and everything, but fun stories for sure.
Yeah. I mean, again, and I think when you can look back on the credits that you've done, and like I said, now I'm gonna add a overlay above so you can kind of scroll through so
Yeah.
people can briefly see it. And I'd recommend people go and see it. Like it's a career that a lot of people would be like, holy shit, like how someone done so much in such a span of time. Um, so it's been incredible to be able to get a lot more familiar with your work as well. Um, and perhaps a question I kind of have for you, and maybe you've already played this kind of character, but if you could have played one character or do one particular stunt and you could have chose from anything, what would that have been?
I think the one thing that would take me out of retirement that I would love to do is a masked horror character. I would just love to, if it had a good script and stuff, I would love it. I don't need this, I don't need my face to be shown, but just to do something super creepy in a really cool movie, I would love that. So that's something that is on the bucket list for sure. Bunny Man was great, but it was 20 years ago. I would love to be just kind of like a Jason character, the main mask character. I would just love that.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because obviously we've got a Camp Crystal Lake show coming out, but also I know obviously the whole thing with Friday the 13th was the two owners having legal disputes, but there's like a lot of talks that they're settling it down. So in the coming future, there could be another movie on the way.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
Yeah, so they've been in a legal dispute for something stupid like since 2009 or something crazy. So yeah, apparently now, because I interviewed CJ Graham.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
actually working with him in 2 weeks at a convention in Houston.
oh,
So yeah.
he's one of the coolest guys ever. Yeah, you should get to chat to him. Yeah, and I was chatting with him, and he kind of said he heard whispers around the industry that they're kind of coming to an end with their legal dispute, which means we could
Okay.
have an official Friday the 13th movie. So that's one for you to keep out for. That might be in the pipeline.
Hell yeah.
um, So again, just a couple more things, a couple more questions. Um, if you could give people listening or watching any advice, it doesn't have to be in this industry, just any advice in general, what would that be?
I think the biggest thing, even outside of this, is always learn from your mistakes, but keep making mistakes. Just keep promoting yourself, keep believing in yourself. Whatever you do, just keep at it. You will get 1,000 no's. But the mistakes that you make, you'll learn from, and you'll always grow. You'll always persevere at the end. So never give up on yourself, and keep promoting the hell out of yourself. You're badass. You're your best fan. No one's going to believe any more than you. So keep at it, and success will come, regardless of what you do. So learn from the mistakes and turn them around and make them positives.
Fantastic. And I know you said obviously you've got a convention coming in a couple of weeks. If you want to link, or do you have anything sort of social medias that people can follow, or any conventions you're attending so people can kind of watch out and keep an eye out for you?
Yeah, I have two conventions. One's in Houston on the 16th of December, and then I have one in Waco, which is a comic convention. The one in Houston's a horror convention. CJ Graham's going to be there. Danielle Harris from the Halloween movies, which I'm super excited to meet, actually. But I'm a fan. And then I have a Comic-Con in Waco that's pretty big. So I can send you those links. Maybe you can link them on there. And Instagram's the only social I'm on. Definitely have a cool family on there. Everyone's real supportive. So and that's stunt.beast. And that's, send me a DM, connect, comment. I'm always there just to get to know people.
Absolutely. What I'll do is I'll obviously I follow you on Instagram, so I'll make sure I'll link all of the conventions. If you send me the link to them, I'll link all the conventions and your Instagram at the very top of the description. So all people have to do is top description. All your links are there for you. Preston, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to get to speak to you today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, and more so, thank your audience for listening to me and having me on the show.